Hi guys, welcome back to Renee with Real Estate. Renee, how are you today?
I'm doing fabulous. How are you today?
I'm excellent.
Good.
We made it to June.
Is it June?
It is June. We have made it to June, folks. Oh my gosh.
June of a post-pandemic year.
Right?
Can we say post-pandemic
I
year?
think so. We're gonna say it anyway.
We're gonna say it.
We're gonna say it because things are moving and shaking. We're not slowing down,
Rocking
so
and
we're gonna
rolling.
say that it's just going.
I didn't even know it was June.
Right, exactly. That's my point.
June what? The second. Okay.
June 2nd. We just rolled over halfway through the year. Things are happening.
Halfway. So we're halfway. This is the halfway.
This is it. Halfway through. Lots going on. This is a big month. June is an exciting month for us. Like, we're trying to not pull our hair out because we have so much going on, but it is a great month.
We keep setting newer, higher goals, which is what you should do. You know, you set very achievable goals, and then when you achieve them, you should shoot for more. And what's funny is our goal setting wasn't necessarily our doing. It's just all of a sudden it happened, and we're like, okay, so this is the new standard, new gold standard. Like, we need to shoot for this.
And we're just rolling.
And now I'm looking at July. There's really sparse. I'm like, okay, time to amp up July.
Right.
We're referring at this point to closes, you know,
Yes.
so just buying and selling residential property. So
Well, absolutely.
yeah.
Well, to start it off, it's kind of exciting. I'm just going to be bragging on you today because so much is happening. It's kind of cool. You actually did a training video on open houses for South African agents.
If you're watching
How
this
amazing is that?
and you're part of the South African team, I am so sorry about my dog. Oh my gosh. Like, this whole home thing is a thing, and he has been like vocal, but this was I had just been out of town, which I think was part of the exceptionalness of it all. But I should have left him here, which lesson learned. So could we do a do-over? Yesterday, I very quickly rolled in. I was actually, and I'm also sorry I was late. There's a lot of stories. I was 15 minutes late because I had a call that I couldn't get off of, and as it happens in our business. And so they were super gracious. And yeah, we did a 30-minute training. I got to coach virtually on a recording for the South African EXP agents on how to build your business from the ground up. So that was super exciting.
Which is really cool because you actually said that when you started, you did one every weekend for what, 2 years when you started to build yours?
So it was specifically about open houses. Yeah. And so interesting because obviously, do you know anything about the South African market? Because I know nothing about the South African. How do you sell a house? Like, turns out that there are things that regardless of where you are in the world, they're the same. You know, sales is sales. Whether you're here or there, it is cold knocking, calling, you know, it is just you meeting people. And that's why when I meet someone who likes people and likes to talk to people, I'm like, I can't teach you to do that. Like, everything that you do, I couldn't teach someone to do. In this business, you have to like people, like talking to them, because that's how you build it. You know, so yeah, I got to give. So yeah, apparently they also do open houses in South Africa. If you're watching anywhere else in the world, drop a note. Do you do open houses? Because we don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's so cool. So is that still? I mean, right now this is still a great time to be doing open houses. Like, you should not be stopping, but the amount that you're doing is going to change as you build your business.
Yeah. So even funny during when the pandemic hit, open houses were still a significant part of my lead generation. And so here we are, like, we're not supposed to be near each other, and I'm like, well, I need to meet people. So we were declared, okay, for everyone watching, it's so fascinating how every part of the world experienced the pandemic differently. So for everyone watching, in this little pocket of the world, which is a very small town, so we have a lot of space between each other, it was less aggressive in terms of regulations. And for whatever reason, our specific state, because in America, it was a state-by-state decision, which is so cool, because if you learn about America and understand like what United States mean, they each have like their own, it's really cool, it's a whole other story. So this state determined that realtors were essential, like nurses. We were which, that was a blessing, because that's how I made that's how I made a living. So yeah, suddenly I still had a job, and not only did I have a job, but I decided to keep doing open houses. I was like, you know what, if we keep distance and people still had to buy, like when the pandemic hit, there were people in the middle of moving, needing to, like, you couldn't have
It didn't
just stop. Like
Yeah.
you can't suddenly tell the person that's packed up their whole house and they're supposed to close the week after we're on lockdown, they can't go. Like, what?
That's fair.
Like, there's this whole domino thing. I'd like to know the countries that did do that, because what do you do? Like, I guess you start with your packed up stuff or you start to unpack. I don't know how to.
As long as you weren't in transition, because my God, you imagine having all your stuff in a truck.
Even our business is always in transition. Like, that's what I was like, which is probably what Virginia did when it looked at realtors. They're like, yeah, we can't. This is a train that doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Like, so I did still do open houses during the pandemic, and I, until it dwindled. Like, people finally, months enough into it weren't coming out. It was kind of a, okay, what's the point? But interestingly, while the open houses dwindled at that time, the leads, because everyone's sitting at home on Zillow and Realtor and looking at house, suddenly like, I didn't need to go to a house anymore. No one could leave their house. So my phone just like, like it got to the point where one summer, a woman messaged me. She was like, I've been trying to find an agent for a week and no one will call me back. Like, when does that happen?
What?
Yeah, well, because people were afraid, they were scared, and
You can still answer a phone.
I get it, but they didn't want to go out your property. So what are you gonna do, right? Like, you're gonna answer the phone and say, yeah, I'm not leaving my house.
I guess.
And how are you gonna buy a house if you're not? Someone has to leave the house to buy a house, which I did do a lot of. I did a lot of virtual purchases, literally, like with a camera. So this would be your kitchen. Like, it feels good in here. I don't know if you trust my feelings, but yeah, like just so weird. So it was a weird time to be in business, and it was interesting. So I did end up, COVID pushed me out of the need for open houses, and because business was so fast and so quick for those years, I built residual business now where I don't have to be back in an open house, but I am doing one this Sunday, because now I've got agents that I'm training who now I go to the open house so they can see, I can teach them how to do what I did.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and then also assist my clients, because the market has shifted, so things aren't flying off the shelf necessarily the next day anymore. It's wild.
Yeah.
We said this before maybe in one of our shows, like the only constant in life is change. The only constant is change. That's it. It will always change, and as long as you're okay, you just gotta move.
Just be flexible.
Yeah, it's like a dance, right?
So then, what would be your tip for anyone that's new to real estate, that's maybe getting frustrated, or where that fear is creeping in? Just keep doing the open houses. Just keep.
Yes. Yes. Think outside the box. I always say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So I had an agent. I coached her on open houses. She did like 4 in a row, got nothing. And I'm like, okay, after the second one where you're not getting any leads, we need to what's happening, right? Like,
go back to reassess.
What are you saying when people come in? Like, how are people coming through and you're not getting one person? Because the goal would be to have one new client at an open house. Like, I don't think you should look at an open house and think you're gonna fill a book. Like, I just was always excited to have one. I remember one time I got 11 leads. I couldn't even keep up.
Wow.
Oh, the door was just turning and nobody had agents, and I was like by myself, and my lender didn't come, and she was supposed to come. I'm like, if you would have been here, we could have kept up with everybody. Yeah. So, but I also believe that the people you're meant to work with will find you. You'll find them, and it will happen. You gotta think of your business as like, say a combine. Is that the right word? Those big wheels that you turn, and like they turn so slowly at first, and it's great effort.
Yes.
But the more that it turns, all of a sudden it turns into this fast moving. So every time you do an open house or you spend hours reaching out to people, you're pushing this thing, and sometimes you're pushing, it doesn't go anywhere, and then like sometimes you push and like you get 11 leads, you're like, well, that was easy, and then the next 2 weeks you get nothing. So it's a law of averages. You can't look at even a whole month of nothing. You can't look at that month as a waste. You went out there, your name got out there, you promoted the open house, you promoted yourself, you were in front of people, you were like, all of that is working, is growing to the the company you want to have, or whatever your goals are. Like, that's the other thing. If you don't know what your goals are, that you might as well just take a dart and throw it in the dark. I mean, you gotta be shooting for something, so you can see your target. And you're like, yeah, I'm using a lot of metaphors and they're going all over the place, and none of them connect. But
it's okay.
Shooting in the dark, target. Yeah. So yeah, you need to have goals, and then you need to do daily income producing activity. And hear me when I say income producing activity. I had people like, I handed out business cards, and one girl's like, I made posters or memes for Facebook, and that is not income producing. What you need to do things that can generate, and to me, income producing is the name and the number of somebody you can help. If you don't leave with a name and a number, you've done nothing income producing. So like I didn't spend any of my time worrying about business cards, worrying about, you know, oh, I need stickers on my car, or I need, like, I didn't do any of that. I had my one sign to get my one listing one day. I had my one, like, I'm my ones, right? Because I didn't want to spend, I didn't have a bunch of money to spend. I couldn't just throw money at the wind. And so, knowing that it would grow one day, and it did. I've got like 10 signs, and you know, everything expanded, but I started with what was necessary and then looked for names and numbers. So if I would meet somebody at the store, like at Starbucks, this woman commented on my hair, oh, I love your hair, who did it? I was like, thanks, it's in Canada, you can't go. And then, it's too far. She's like, oh, then I gave her a couple local people, but then I was like, what are you doing in town? And she's like, oh, I'm here, I wrote just looking for a house. Like it just comes up. You're like, well, guess what? I'm a realtor. No way. Like, do they have an agent yet? No. I got their name and their number. Because if I gave them a card, what happens?
You don't know if they're going to come back.
I hand them a card, what happens? I have no way to reach them.
No.
And 9 times out of 10, have you ever done this? You got a card from somebody, and then later on, you're like, hey, I really need a plumber, or whatever it was. You're like, who the heck is that person? And then you just ask the next closest thing.
Exactly.
Where if you take ownership of your job and you get those names and the numbers, that you are, you know, you're going to be able to spin your business. So I don't know if I just went on.
No, that was great. No,
that's a lot of what we said to someone.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's huge though. I mean, because again, that's not things you think about. You're like, oh, I gave out all these cards. I did my job for today.
Yeah.
But as you're saying, you really didn't do anything because
No.
they could throw the card away. They could lose it. They could fall between their receipts.
I still only pass out a card to validate that I'm an agent. Like literally, it's almost like I'm not some Joe Schmo. Like I'm legitimate, and then I don't think about all I'm thinking when I meet them after they get my card is I need to establish a relationship to see if they want to work with me, and then see if they'll give me their information, right? And of course, it's not a coercion situation.
No.
Like some people, you just don't click. Like I literally I did an open house at Lakeridge. And so I'm training another girl at this open house, and this couple comes in, and I use my little speech at the beginning, and you know, it kind of ends with like, "Who's your agent?" And they're like, "Oh, nobody." I said, "Cool." I was like, "Well, I'm Renee, and I could definitely see if this one doesn't fit, I could assist you, maybe finding something else." And they said the husband though, like the wife stayed and talked, and it felt so obligatory, and the husband like took off. And she could. You ever talk to someone where they're like inching? She's talking, and I see her inching, and I'm like, I don't think she wants to be in this conversation with me. So sure enough, they left out the back door. They never came back through. I was like, well, yeah. And honestly, that day we had 5 people go through, and 4 had agents, and the one that didn't ran out the back door. So nothing came of it for me. But you know, you have to remember, it's a series of events that build your business. It's not, you never look at that one thing like, this one thing is going to make me money. Like it's no. It's the accumulation of this effort on a daily basis that's going to make you money.
Yeah. Well, another exciting thing that is happening.
Another exciting thing.
The National Digest wrote an article on you that's coming out this weekend.
Supposedly.
Right? Okay.
I did the interview when I was in Manhattan. How long ago was that?
Oh my gosh.
Was I in Manhattan in April?
Yeah.
Anyway, I did the interview a long time ago, and I became friends with one of the editors, who I love so much. She's fabulous, and so she's obviously National Digest is up near. Well, she lives in Long Island, but it's in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Anyway, wanted to meet up with her when I was there, but it just didn't work out, and so we're busy. So we did the interview, and then I messaged her a couple days ago. I'm like, so was that article coming out? And then they called, and there's like a big little kerfuffle over there, and so that they got everything sorted, and apparently I'm going to see a draft of it on Friday.
Okay.
That's tomorrow.
Yes.
And then I will submit any, revisions to make sure it's an accurate representation of everything, and then it'll be published on their. I don't quite understand. Something like I'll be featured on their front page, and then I'll be the feature for real estate and for music.
Wow.
I don't know. That's
really cool. That's awesome.
So we'll see. Yeah. So if you're looking to know more about me, you'll have an opportunity in the National Digest.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, you said that they did do it for both real estate and music.
So they looked at me kind of, the front pages kind of me as a whole, I guess.
Okay.
In terms of accomplishments, and then I actually don't know. I guess when I see I'll see how they're
see
doing
how
that. I don't know. Yeah,
how
so
this
it's really
set up.
interesting. If you've never been interviewed before, it's interesting how they ask you kind of like what this is. Like they
Yeah.
ask you all these questions, and you just start talking, and they they record it. But it's like it's like writing is like an art form. So it'll be interesting to see how someone's take of what I've said. Like you could literally, someone could listen to this podcast and write an article from this podcast. 5 people could write an article from everything we've just said, and it'll be 5 totally different articles.
Yeah.
Totally different. And each one will be infused with kind of their worldviews, their perspectives. Like it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, I've never been interviewed in that capacity before, so it'll be interesting to see.
It'll be exciting to
I
see.
know, that's
I'll have to follow up with that whenever that comes out.
it's fun.
That's fabulous. So when we were talking this morning, you had mentioned how lawsuits seem to be popping up a lot more now in the market. Is this an inspections situation? So many people are waiving them, and then things are coming back. Or
I
what's-
only know about this, thank you Jesus, from hearsay.
Right.
Like I
It's
don't
not
know
been
any of
us.
this firsthand. Yeah, thank you. I don't know any of this firsthand. I've just heard EXP is a state-run brokerage, meaning the brokers are state brokers. I mean, there's brokers on the lower levels, but
Right.
it's quite a well-oiled machine. Let's put it to you that way. So, the brokers were talking to me about something else, and we were discussing how because of this market and the fact that there's bidding wars and they're making decisions very quickly, and I think buyer's remorse is a very real thing in this market. Think about it like when you go pressure shopping, like
Right.
Black Friday shopping, and it's like everyone's grabbing stuff, and then like you're grabbing all this stuff, and you get home and you look at half, and you're like, what did I do this for? Like I think I don't know that people are like, oh, why did I buy? But I think people may be settling because the housing shortage plus bidding wars. I think there's a lot of people that are kind of getting into their homes and they're like, huh. And then I guess, we joked, I'm Canadian, and so one of the jokes in Canada is that America's land of the Sioux. Everybody sues over here. That's how they feel in Canada anyway. So I guess, some people, if they're upset enough, they're taking action. And so I do my best, because understanding that the market is this way, when you have to get into these bidding wars, I work really hard to educate my buyers about what they're doing. Like, not like don't second guess, not that I want them to second guess themselves, but like having that really hard conversation. So that when this closes, the seller's not responsible anymore. Like whatever happens, the day after close, the basement could flood. And Cheddars, I love you. That happened to me in Cheddars.
Oh,
The basement could flood. Like the day after, and in their case, when the basement flooded, they had a home inspection. Like you can literally take all the precautions available to you and be in a market where you can exercise them, and you still close and still have trauma. So like this is just home ownership, but especially I think in this market because emotions are heightened and everything's fast and that there's just if agents are kind of flying quickly or not educating maybe or clients are not being willing to be educated, things are falling through the cracks or not understood, and apparently it's problematic. So I don't want to draw attention to this in the sense that I think people should sue. I just think if you're listening to this as a client, like when you're going to buy, buy eyes wide open, and be prepared and ask a lot of questions and be ready to accept homeownership. Like that's, we have a new agent joining the brokerage, and we were talking this morning about how homeownership means there's issues. Like the thing you have to remember is that the issues that come up, it's your equity that you're resolving. It's not you renting and giving somebody else their mortgage and then they handle the problems. Like if you're handling problems for you building your wealth, like it's maybe not the best timing or anything you wanted to deal with, but it's good. Like it's you're still investing in yourself, investing in that home. It's still good. Like and so just getting people to understand what that I think it's less likely if someone's owned a home and then goes to sell. I think it's more first-time home buyers that are getting caught up in a lot of this stuff, or like newer homeowners that are or then people that like I was in Virginia Beach and my college roommate's a realtor there, and her clients bought a flip, and so everybody during the pandemic, a lot of people decided they could flip. And so what they do during the pandemic is they bought up all these houses, causing a housing shortage. And all these DIYers started flipping, and if you're not necessarily experienced in that
Right.
avenue. You could probably flip and cause someone a lot of problems. And in her case, her clients, they didn't hook up the plumbing to something about the plumbing to the washer dryer because there was no washer dryer present. The walkthrough didn't involve checking that, and then when they went to go use a washer dryer, it somehow was a mess. And so I think there's just a lot of things at play right now that didn't really exist before when the market wasn't so crazy. So, and of course it causes people to be upset, because you're buying a flipped home, you're expecting it to be to code and to this and to that, and then to get in and find out it's not. And these are things that like an agent, we couldn't tell you if it was or if it wasn't. Like that's not our wheelhouse. That's not, we're here to protect you legally, contractually through the process. But the condition of the home, we can't see behind walls. We can't, that's why those flipped houses can get scary.
Right.
Like what is behind the walls?
Yeah,
Nobody
really
can tell you. Even if you had a home inspection, nobody can tell you if the wiring's done correctly or Yeah, it's a wild world out there. So I think the lesson here is to just saddle up along someone and just make the best and wisest decisions you can possibly make. And then just know homeownership's homeownership, right? Like you don't usually hear about houses exploding. So.
Right. Well, exactly.
Usually it's just some stuff you have to deal with,
Yeah. And something that hasn't ever changed and won't change is the fact that there are so many time constraints once you go under contract. So having to make sure that everything, that clients are aware, which again, you were saying a lot of this is the new buyers. They should, if there's a class that's being offered, things to learn as a new buyer, things to be prepared for.
Take a first time home buyers class if you can find
Such a good thing to take.
Just to start educating yourself, because he's right. Like once you find a home and you get it under contract, it moves. And there isn't even enough time to have there's conversations I don't get to have in this market with my clients about some stuff. Or I have it, but it's so brief, and then they don't remember what was said, and it just moves very fast. So and then make sure you work with someone who's going to educate you. That's kind of their nature. They want to do this. Make sure you're well. I always say knowledge is power. So the more information you have, the better decision you can make, and move forward with as much ease as possible. But yeah, you have 60 days. When you go under contract, you live a maximum of 60 days to execute many things. And usually, in this market, you have to reduce it to 30 to try and win. In 30 days, it's fast. That means you saw a home and you own a home in 30 days. It's fast.
It's crazy.
But if you've got the right people around you, it's actually it's fun and we have a good time and it's a great journey. And in the end, you've got a piece of America. Well, if you're watching America, you have a piece of America that's yours, and you can build from that and grow. Expand your portfolio and grow well. So we're gonna get him a house one day.
That's right. That's
so
right.
just think about the really good place it's about to rent, but we'll get him a house one day.
That's right. That's right. Stepping stones. Getting it all in place.
That's right.
So Oprah said, "Don't worry about being successful, but work toward being significant, and the success will naturally flow."
Oh, you put that on the board.
Yeah,
You wrote a quote.
So just with all the craziness, the day in and day out, mindset is obviously a huge piece of that.
That's so funny. I was just on the phone this morning with a South African woman, sweet as pie, and we discussed that, and she already knew the answer. She's kind of found herself in a rut, and talking to her, I was like, we all get into ruts. We all get into places, moments of our life where seasons where things just seem harder, and I use the word "seem" very strongly because it seems that way.
Yeah. And
then we embrace that emotion, and then we feel like it becomes that way, and then it just turns into this spiral, And so when Oprah, talk about a woman who's created an incredible amount of success for herself, for her to say that, that's coming from a place of just obviously unwavering belief that she focused on being significant in the world. I don't truly know Oprah to say that's 100% true, but if and I know that phrase is accurate, she has to have thought that way for her to have grown as exponentially as she has. And so, if you're worried about paying a bill or your finances or, everything that you're doing revolves around some outcome that's more self-serving, you're gonna have a harder time moving forward than if you look outside yourself, down to the simple, if you are in that rut. I was telling her this morning, I was like, if you're in a rut and truly feel like the world's against you, you have to start so basic, and you have to wake up every day and find 10 things that you're thankful for, And I was telling her on the phone, I'm like, there's a point in my life not that long ago where those 10 things were as simple as green grass and blue skies. Like I couldn't think of anything. Like I'm like, I have a roof over my head. Like I had no money to pay bills, so that wasn't one of them. I was like,
Right.
like just it was really reduced to very basic things. But the more that I focused on the things I could find to be thankful for, the more things I was able to, like the more things to be thankful for arrived. And that's true in anything. Like I think if we focus on all the negatives, we're gonna get more negative. Just like if you're, you know, when you're working with someone who's trying to buy a house, like this is too hard, this is too hard. If they feel like it's too hard, it's gonna be too hard. You know, if buying a home is gonna be too hard for you, it's gonna be too hard for you.
Yeah.
But if you can work with the client and get them to see, like, no, it's so worth it. Like the challenge is not hard, it's just challenged. And these challenges are gonna lead to something really amazing and just get them to kind of move through that process. Because some people, like in your case, some people have to build a foundation to be able to purchase the home. They're not, you know, they need to put a few financial pieces together. Like I had to do that.
Yeah.
You know, I had to put some financial pieces together to get ownership of my home, and that took time. And so time can feel frustrating, but really that time's allowing you to do many other things that are going to position you for so many that we can't even see. So it's like getting people to take that journey though. Like we're like, hey, you can do this in a year if you do this, this, and this. And they're like, oh, a year, I'll just stay renting. Why?
It's just part of that growth process.
Like,
I'm
yeah,
come
like
on.
you just do this for the
Take that
next
time.
12 months. Like it's kind of like we were talking about, you know, training and working out. It's like, just do this for 3 months and then you can have this. And it's like, oh, but pizza looks so good. Like, man, I want those fries. You know, but 3 months, what's that little amount of time for a great reward? So,
And honestly, it goes by so fast.
which
you know?
we don't think about that either.
No.
12 months, 3 months, it seems like forever, but now we're already halfway through 2022.
Exactly. When did that happen? So the last exciting thing that's happening this month is EXP is having their shareholder summit in Orlando.
That's right, I'm traveling.
So,
that's right.
Are you able to talk about that? What are you hoping to get from that?
I don't
What
know.
happens? What?
I don't know.
You don't know. So the conference that they have every year, they have 2 of them. And if you go as an EXP agent, if you go to one of the 2 conferences every
You'll
year,
go to both.
then you get to go to both. Then you will get back the last bit of the commission.
2K a piece.
Okay.
So if you go to both, you get 4K of the 16K back in stock. If you only attend one, you'll get 2K back in stock. So when I first joined EXP, the funds to do that kind of a trip, because it's probably a 2K trip,
Yeah.
right? So you get a 2K trip, you spend 2K now, but you've got 2K in stock that will accrue. It's advantageous,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
2K was not available for me when I first started EXP. Not for like 2 years. In fact, it wasn't really available for me till last year.
Yeah.
And I was going on my very first trip last year that I had to cancel because I decided to do this. And I like booked the trip, I had everything planned, was ready to go, and I mean, if I left, this probably wouldn't have got finished. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we were hurting cats.
Right. Oh, I
It was
know.
like,
It
you
was
couldn't
crazy.
leave contractors alone. You
No.
can't, it's like full-time babysitting. General contracting, congratulations if you're listening and you're one, I could never do that job. I was
It's a lot.
No, it was
That's a
exhausting.
lot.
So I didn't think a lot of things through. That was one of them. Should have probably done it after the trip or before the trip.
Right.
There were options, but I just kind of I just went for it. So this is the first time ever in all my
Nice.
4 icon years that I'm attending one of these. And so no, I have no idea.
So this will be something to come back to.
No idea. You have to ask
Or
me when
get
it's
asked
over.
about it, yeah.
So I know generally there's, you know, it's like a rah-rah situation, which is cool. We all get together and talk about how great XP is, because it is.
That's right.
But you know, it's a networking. So it was always pitched to me like it's a great opportunity to meet other agents. So like if you had an agent, if I meet agents around the country and they have someone, we connect and they have someone moving to Lynchburg, they'll call me.
Right.
So it's a referral network that you can build by meeting agents in other areas, and then they have training sessions. Oh wait, no, this is the summit. This is related to our stock, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, it's a shareholder.
So I think it's more of an informative situation. I don't know. I'll tell you more later. And then there's like a get together and some sort of ball, something or other.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The white ball.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, the white ball.
It'll be so exciting. Fabulous.
Yeah, my
That's right.
outfit. I just bought bathing suits right now because I'm gonna be in Florida.
There you go.
There'll be a pool.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll have to come back to that then.
Yeah,
So
ask
that'll
the
be
question
something.
later.
Yes.
So
So that's
in 3 weeks,
yeah.
you'll find out what the summit is like because I don't know.
perfect. All right. Well, that's all.
Oh, that's
That's all we have for today.
That's all she wrote. Okay,
Yeah.
Cool.
Fabulous. Well, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for joining us.
So, and we will see you next week. Bye.